Aloha everyone, my name is Shannon Cristobal and I'm the Director of Hawaii History Day and K-12 Programming at Hawaii Council of the Humanities. Today, we will have three amazing organizations with us. The first will be Filipino American Historical Society of Hawaii, Bishop Museum, and Hawaiian Mission Houses. But first, we will get started with the Filipino American Historical Society of Hawaii. With us today is Clement Bautista, who is the president of the organization, along with Gina Vergara Bautista, the organization's treasurer and archivist. Thank you so much, Clem and Gina, for being with us. Now I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. And we're honored to be sharing this space with some other very important institutions. If possible, I'd like to start off with a PowerPoint. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'll just start off with this. The American Historical Society of Hawaii started in 1980. We're a private nonprofit, 501c3. We're dedicated to preserving, enhancing, and promoting an appreciation of Filipino heritage and the experiences of Filipino Americans in Hawaii. That's the point, because we are focusing on Hawaii because there is a larger organization that's more national, and so we don't want to overlap with them. We share this knowledge through forums, exhibits, workshops, and other presentations, including now internet resources. Some sample exhibits that we've had in the past were Kasasayan, Cabo Alcala, the continuing revolution of the Philippines in Hawaii, this is in 2001. Philippine comics, creating and reflecting Filipino sensibilities. That was also funded by the HCH. And Cicadas and Soldiers, Hawaii's Filipinos in World War I. One of our later ones, which I can show you a little bit of in a little while. We've also produced some videos, Sangandaan, 1981, which is very close to when we started. A feature film of a plantation family. And then a more recent one, Hawaii Masters of Eskrima, which is Filipino martial arts. And we have one publication of our own, which is Unbending Cane, Pablo Manlapit, a Filipino labor leader in Hawaii, by one of our members, Belinda Tria Kirkvillet. We do have two websites, actually. Our main organization one, www.faso.org, and our digital archives, www.efil.archives.org. We were kind of being cute a little bit, you know, with our EFIL for electronic Filipinos. And actually, the reason why we did this, because of our concern that, you know, not enough information is being created contemporarily with knowledge of Filipinos and Filipinos past. So as I say here, writing history is always an act of trying to understand and communicate the present in terms of the past. However, if the resources of the past only reflect one perspective, only that perspective will be perpetuated in the present. I don't think we have any bones about the idea that we really create history in the present. But how we create that and what it means to us, what the past will mean to us, is important if we need to get more resources from different groups. So the EFIL Archives, Filipino Digital Archives, was created in 2006 to make resources, sometimes secondary, but also primary sources by and about Filipinos in Hawaii, for students and researchers to be better informed and complete histories. We felt that one, we couldn't start collecting like other organizations, other institutions. We didn't have the space or the resources to collect things for people to see, so we were going to just digitize any collection that we would get. In the long run, actually, it serves a better purpose, because once we start with digitizing, it's available to more people. Nowadays, I guess it works out because we have no place to go to anyway, except the internet. So what's some features on it, which I'm really proud of, is one, our early Filipino newspapers. We have 23 newspapers digitized. They are loaned from the UH library, but they're from the 1930s. And so what's nice, they're available to anyone who can get on the web. And another one is the Gumil Hawaii, which is an association of Ilocano writers in Hawaii from 1973 on. It's a group of writers who write in English and Ilocano, actually. And they have publications every year, or they had celebrations every year. And so we have their collection online. It details, actually, especially when you look at the early ones, their ideas on coming to Hawaii and what they experienced. It's both essays, there's literature, as well as poetry. So it's really a good source. Again, we also have some important writings of Filipinos in Hawaii, and we have permission to digitize them and distribute them online. Filipinos in Hawaii is an annotated bibliography from 1977, and Cicada, Filipino adaptation in Hawaii, 1981, one of the more popular books about Filipinos in Hawaii. And as far as we can trace, it's the one that got people talking about cicadas as the Filipino plantation workers. We also have the 2 volumes of Social Process in Hawaii that focus on Filipinos, and they're available online too. Another project that the FOSO, our Historical Society, had worked on was the Oral History Project. And so Unheard Voices Project is you have access to our oral histories, and a transcript of the oral history. And these were people that we thought were not necessarily prominent people in Hawaii. Our idea was to document Filipinos who are kind of like everyday folks who are, living out their lives in Hawaii and have ideas to share with us. They weren't necessarily politicians, because we always get their stories, and you can look them up on the regular media. And so we decided to focus on people that we knew and people in the community, actually. Another one is a Julian Urong Rondalia group. I have musical recordings on our web that you can download. This is a group of people who grew up on the plantation, and they made their career in music, both in jazz and in Hawaiian music. And in their later years, they went back to Filipino music. So this is all when they're already in their 70s and and beyond. Several of them have passed away already, but you do have you can still download their music here. And then some of our exhibits are online. A Wahiawa hero, Stanley Sabihon, kind of an unknown person who grew up in Wahiawa, and he flew B-17 bombers in Europe, which is something which nobody ever heard of. A guy from Lelihua High School. And so that's a 2008 exhibit. And a more recent one, Cicadas and Soldiers, Hawaii's Filipinos in World War I. It was, I think, a new idea about Filipino soldiers in World War I. There were a lot of them there, who enlisted, almost 4,000. And so their stories are really not told. Again, these are our URLs for our 2 websites. Let me just show you a little bit about another resource. Okay, this is our regular website. And as you see, we did change our website a little bit to reflect the COVID updates. 3 new exhibits that we have on our digital archives is actually the Loyalty and Valor World War II veterans, and then the Cicadas and Soldiers World War I veterans. I am slowly putting up another one, Makibaka Huag Matako, which is a presentation of Ota Camp, the Ota Camp protests in Waipahu, in which case there's a 30-year struggle for the residents to gain the right to own their own homes. Kind of like just recently, I guess, Verona Village also got their right to do that too. And then if you go here and you can go, there's a various information about our about our organization. And then if you go to our digital archives, this is the digital archives. And I just want to look at real quickly, the two ones I put up here, are this Filipino veterans one. And I think they're kind of interesting. Cicada and Soldiers, and I just show real quickly. There's a lot of text here about Filipinos serving in World War I. And again, they're not really well known. We really went through newspapers at a time. This is the main resource that we had, and looking up anywhere we could find the experience of Filipinos and how they interacted with this community. In the end, it's really, I think we do have promises made and promises broken. And so we do have a problem of Filipinos who were served but were not recognized, and eventually they are denied their benefits. We do have this, if anyone recalls, this plaque there in the natatorium. And what started us actually on this exhibit was to look at the plaque and see how many Filipino names there actually were there. And so that was very surprising to us. One of the things that we have also is the World War I service records. And so you could actually look up the service records of everyone, including Filipinos, who served in World War I from Hawaii. And, you can just bring them up, and all of a sudden you just look at that. That's this random one I brought up, a Filipino record. Notice it's from Bataan, Philippines, and he's a Filipino here. So there are quite a few there who signed up, and so that's this exhibit. Let's see. Another one we have here is the Loyalty and Valor, which is the World War II exhibit that we have. It's a long story, and I'll just show a little bit of it. We go through Pearl Harbor, the connections between Pearl Harbor and the Philippines, both attacked at the same time, roughly at the same time. And go through the Philippines campaign, which is actually a very important part of the World War II, which is very much, I think, underreported and underappreciated. And so the Filipinos, both in the Philippines and from the U.S. and Hawaii, who joined to liberate the Philippines, is kind of like described here. Similarly, we have the problem of the Rescission Act of 1946, in which promises made to Filipinos in the Philippines to fight for the U.S. were essentially taken back. And so the promises made were broken. And so many of the guerrillas who fought for the U.S., as here, were denied their benefits that were promised. Our legislators tried to bring the benefits back. In the end, we ended up with the Congressional Gold Medal, which came about 2 years ago. And this was actually the motivation for putting this exhibit together. Just a final thing, I think my time is almost up here. Under collections here, you could find here our oral histories, newspapers, photographs from the state archives, actually. Julian Yurong group, these four gentlemen who play music, and you can scroll down here, and this is my recording of them, and you actually can download their music here. I don't think I'll play it right now, but you can download it, keep it, promote it, and Filipino and some local music too. And again, most of these things they're all available online. The newspapers, you can essentially pick them up as PDFs, and you can have and read them and figure out what was going on in 1939. And is it about my time now, Shannon? Okay.
Sure.
Well, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Clem. Oh, that's amazing. Wow, that's a lot of resources. Thank you so much for your presentation.